all I've got to say. She's a Detroit maid, deuce and a quarter babe. She's a Detroit maid, deuce and a quarter babe. Big block, she'll do all the work so we can ride in style. Leather on those bucket seats.
Rather, do you kind of find rather than see?
Yeah. I sit down and play pretty much every day. It's just kind of a habit. I've done it since I was a kid, and that's sort of how a song gets started. If I'm gonna write one.
Yeah. And what sort of stuff were you listening to when you were a kid, as a matter of interest?
Well, the very first stuff I can remember is my mother's, show tune, Broadway show tune albums like Hernando's Hideaway and
Yeah.
songs like that. And then it was my older brother. I had three older brothers, and they were into Elvis Presley, and later sort of the East Coast dance bands, 59, 60, 61, Joey D and the Starlighters, Peppermint Twist, Gary U.S. Bonds, people like that. That's sort of
New Orleans, all that stuff.
Yeah. And I danced till 2:45. That's a sort of hard sax-driven sort of East Coast bop song. I love that. And then, of course, the Beatles and the Stones and that whole thing when it came over, it was pretty powerful for us.
It's great when you listen back to some of those old records and the actual sound is something else, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Gary U.S. Bonds, I mean, that's the concept of
Oh
that
my
sound.
God! Dance till 2:45. The sound of that record is relentless. I mean, it sounds like it's live.
Yeah. Probably was, I think.
Yeah, it might have been.
It's the kind of forerunner of what they call garage rock, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Coming back then to the album and Detroit Made, a car song, and actually a new car to me, Deuce and Quarter.
Deuce and a quarter, yeah, that's the old Buick Electra 225. That's what they used to call them, deuce and quarters, yeah.
That's great. I love that song. It's real. Well, I think you've got a tradition for a couple of road songs on every album.
I like that. I listen mostly in the car.
Was it Memphis in the Meantime? I think was one of yours.
Yeah.
It's a kind of car song.
Tennessee Blades.
They're all driving songs.
Yeah.
That's really good. And there's a slower one on one of your more recent albums, Freight Train.
Yeah, that was on the last one.
Yeah, that's a slower, but it's still got that
Still
movement,
moving
isn't it?
forward, yeah.
Yeah. And Train to Birmingham. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Well, I wrote that when I first got to Nashville within about the first year of being there. And, I really didn't know anything about country music other than Hank Williams. I knew that I didn't really know enough to write a country song. And this was 71. So, and I just, the writers at Tree, they were all saying, well, they write about, truck driving. Well, you better have a train song. That was one of the recommendations. So I thought, a train song. So, okay, Train to Birmingham.
That's good enough. That's good. And Down Around My Place, again, that's the Nashville flood.
Yeah, that's the flooding.
Yeah, I mean, it captures a pretty bad experience all around.
Well, those kind of natural disasters are pretty cathartic. That's the first one I've been in. So, and my wife, it affected my wife.
Yeah.
Anytime your home is encroached on, the women, it's an extension of a woman, the house.
Yeah.
And it kind of, they take it personally, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's your stuff, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's your personal belongings. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's like you've been invaded, not by a person, but by some sort of force that's beyond control.
Yeah.
Farewell to California, the penultimate track on the album. That's where the title track came from, I think, isn't it? Dirty Jeans and Mudslide.
Yeah,
Mudslide?
Dirty Jeans and Mudslide Hymns.
Yeah.
It's a line in the song.
Yeah. And you mentioned in the video that was inspired by Jack Kerouac. And that feeling of when you get to the west coast of America.
And nothing to do but turn around. Yeah, that was actually a line, I think, in On the Road, if I'm not mistaken. I read it when I was a kid. I haven't read it in years, but
Yeah, I'm always thinking about reading that again, actually.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
it's a really amazing piece of writing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
And what is it about the West Coast, you think? Is it that gives that feeling of there's nowhere to go now?
Well, I mean, it is the edge of the continent, so you are kind of screwed unless you hop a boat or a plane to Hawaii or
Special
Australia.
vastness of the Pacific, though, do you think? I mean,
Maybe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does sort of. It's definitely the edge of something.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a very open coastline, isn't it? There's so many
Yeah,
places.
yeah, very much so.
And I'm
It's beautiful.
Fortunate enough to have been there. you
Yeah,
know.
it's a beautiful coastline, isn't
Yeah.
it?
A lot of mist, though, isn't there?
Yes.
And I was very moved by that last song, When New York Had a Heartbroke, which is about 9/11.
Well, I pulled the song out and played it for Kevin, and I said I'm kind of reluctant to record it. So I wrote it because we happened to be in the city the day it happened, and it was it was profound for anybody probably all over the world. It was pretty moving, pretty awful experience. But I never really intended to record it. We had shows in New York in the ensuing weeks after it happened, and each time we came back, the city had perked up a little bit more. You could tell people were trying to pull themselves up out of this, emotional rubble, and so it was just. I wrote the song within the first week. I even performed it a couple times in the city, but I always felt like it was for the New Yorkers.
Yeah.
But anyway, he lived in the city when that happened. He was living in New York, and he had kids in school, kind of within the vicinity of the towers, and so it was a big deal for him. And so he wanted me to record it. So he urged me, and so I said, okay, let's give it a go.
Sad song, I must say, but it certainly captures something very special.
Well, I was hoping that it would, in the tradition of an old folk song that tells the sad tale of some awful thing that happened, like the mining accidents of the 1900s, or
the kind of
the
ballad
sinking of the
tradition,
Titanic, or whatever. That through singing about it, you feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, there is a whole tradition of that sort of thing.
Yeah, indeed.
Songs about all those sorts
Well,
of
the
things.
blues is pretty much based on that.
Yeah. Well, anybody who watches this video, highly recommended John Hiatt's new album, Dirty Jeans and Mudbath Hymns. And thank you for talking to us about the album, John. Yeah. Okay, well, I know you're under time pressure, and I think we've managed to cover quite a lot of ground.
Great.
So thank you very
My
much
pleasure.
indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Smoky room in a thin blue light. Her arms were pale as white, trying to outlast the night, howling at the moon. Living in the canyon then, hang down henna and whiskey gin, dirty jeans and mudslide hymns that all began with soon.